What's up, everybody? Welcome to Moose Milk Podcast, episode 9. We're almost at the double digits. I'm your host, Ryan, waiting for my buddy Matt to join in, but thanks for coming and joining in with us tonight. We're going to talk WandaVision 9, the finale of WandaVision. We'll probably go on tangents at some point. Yeah, who knows what we'll talk about. It's up to you, but thanks for coming by and checking us out. If you got a second, please give us a follow on Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff. You can find the link in my profile for YouTube. I'd appreciate a follow. I'm trying to have a little bit of a follower base there. Just a lot of people are watching live here, and I appreciate that, but also trying to find people there. So please head over there and just follow on YouTube, and you don't even have to watch it on there. Just I appreciate getting the follow. What's up, buddy? Yeah. Raise that roof. Oh.
Yeah.
What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Missed you, buddy.
That's very nice. I missed you too.
It's been a long week without you.
It has. I had a busy fucking week, man. I'm happy it's done. But next week's not looking any more promising, if I'm being honest. So,
well, come on down to Windsor. I'll make the week exciting.
I'm definitely liking that idea.
I miss you, man. It's been like a year and a half since I've seen you, so it's
pretty much. By the time I get there, it'll be a year, at least a year and a half, if not longer.
Somebody told me to take the Texan gear off, and I refused.
Nike boy. Nike boy's good shit.
Refused. My favorite team. They're a dumpster fire. They're going to be the last team in the league this year, and I can't wait for it.
I agree. You know who I like?
You like the Michigan Mikes.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yep. We're actually the Vancouver Whalers. That's a real team, isn't it? It's not a Vancouver team.
I knew you wouldn't be able to name an actual team, so that's why I gave you the Michigan Mikes.
Team, right? Didn't we?
What's that?
We had a team called the Grizzlies in Vancouver, didn't we?
Yeah, that was basketball.
There it is.
Yeah. So, finale. What'd you think?
Yeah, I liked it. I feel like it kind of goes with like the whole series for me. Like, I liked it. I don't want to sell the fact that I feel like I don't want to like sound like I didn't like it. I did like it, but there's definitely things about it I think they could have done more with, and I think there's some things that they still played safe, which is weird that I'm saying that about this, but
totally agree.
Yeah. What did you think overall? Did you like it, or were you a bit let down? Or
I cried.
Yeah. That's easy. As you approach 40, that's how this kind of works, doesn't it?
I cried, but it's hard to say. I didn't love it, and I wanted to love it, and I didn't love it. And I liked it, but there were so many things that I'm like, well, that doesn't really work. That doesn't really make sense. I wish they would have done more with this. It felt like it needed another episode, and I don't want to say that because I'm typically one that, like, I think less is more on almost everything. And I hate, like, the classic television of everything had to be 24 episodes and week to week and, you know, all that stuff. Like, I typically hate that, but I felt like they needed to prolong this episode, and we got snippets of things, but a lot of things weren't finalized. A lot of things weren't finished as a storyline, and as much as they did finish, like, I mean, obviously we're going into spoilers, so if you haven't seen WandaVision, check out now. Exactly. So that's your warning. But like White Vision, they didn't do anything with him. Like, it was like he had this big revelation, and then he was just, I'm out.
Out, yeah. Well, it's
just like Quicksilver. We found out his name is Ralph Boner. funny because they made a dick joke in the Disney movie.
But so good. That might have been my favorite.
But they didn't do anything with him. Like, what does that mean? He's a guy named Ralph Boner, okay, but he looks like Quicksilver, and he clearly is Quicksilver. So
they didn't really explain that, right?
They didn't explain that at all. Like, everybody else in that entire Westview town is like, they're still the same person. They're just obviously their personality has changed to fit the timeline of the show, but they look like the person they are, and they're still that person. So, like, why is Ralph Boner exact replica of Quicksilver?
I don't know,
like, it just didn't make sense.
I like the fact that his name is Ralph Boner, though. That made me laugh.
It's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, that's the kind of thing, though, right? Is I feel like they could have done so much more. And it's like, my biggest gripe with it is like, it's like another finale of a Marvel thing where it's like Scarlet Witch is fighting a witch and Vision is fighting Vision. It's just like Iron Man fights Ironmonger and Doctor Strange fights Mordo. It's like literally the same versus, and it's always that, right?
But that, and like, how do I say this without sounding terrible? But like, nothing got resolved. All the emotional impacts of the show was between Wanda losing her family, losing her love of her life, which is Vision, losing everything she felt that she needed. But like, you immediately remove that emotional impact when you go, well, Vision's not really dead. Vision's now White Vision, and he has the same memories, and he's going to be back at some point. Like, you remove that emotional impact of Vision dying and her giving up that life to be the hero that she needs to be. Is like, well, you're not really a hero. You just locked this entire town behind a whatever magic barrier that you messed up their lives. Like, you messed up hundreds of people's lives and removed them from their family, and all these people hate you. You're not a hero in any way. You're selfish. And they ended it like she was like, well, you know, I'm walking away from this and going off on my own. And I'm like, she's no hero. She doesn't belong in the Avengers. Like, she's a villain.
But see, they could spin that later. Like they could play off that of her being a villain. Like, that's the thing, is like, I feel like they're really good at kind of picking up pieces that you thought they just left alone to like get it out of the way, and then they kind of come back to it, you know? I feel like we'll probably get that with Wanda, right? Because it's like, you know, like there's no way that she's not going to be held responsible for that, right?
I agree with you, but we've already had that character arc. Yeah, she's already blown up a building and killed a bunch of people. And she's already been the villain that needed to go, hey, what I'm doing doesn't have a righteous cause, and I'm going to change and become the hero. After I've lost my brother, after I've lost my family, I'm going to be an Avenger. Mm-hmm. Now she's spun that back to being the villain again, which, that's cool. If you want to be a villain, be a villain. But they found this middle ground of like, she's not a hero, she's not a villain, she's just somewhere in between, but we're going to make her seem like she's still a hero. And I'm like, she's not a hero. Mm-hmm. Like, they arrested the head dude of the military guy there, whatever you want to call him.
Hayworth?
Yeah, Hayworth. They arrested him, and I'm like, they shouldn't be arresting this guy. He was trying to save everybody in the town.
Yeah.
What was the thing that he did that he deserves to be arrested for? Like, he was protecting the citizens of the town. He wasn't doing anything wrong.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know. It's hard. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing that's hard is I feel like there's still a lot of things that didn't get answered. Like when we saw that video of Wanda breaking in and stealing Vision, like, they never explained that. Like, we definitely saw that, right? I know I'm stoned, but like, yeah. So yeah,
they showed that, and then Hayworth rolled it back and was like, "Well, that didn't happen. This is what actually happened."
Yeah,
and to me, it's just like, there's a lot of things left up in the air, which is fine. I'm used to cliffhangers. My favorite show of all time, or one of my favorite shows of all time, is Lost.
Yeah,
and that's a show notorious for leaving things unanswered. Yeah, so like, I'm okay with that. But if this is a show that's supposed to be one season long, And I know she's going to carry on in Doctor Strange and everything like that, but they didn't answer the X-Men question. They didn't answer the mutant question. They didn't answer any of it.
I didn't really. I kind of expected us to get even a glimpse of mutant, but like I knew that we wouldn't get. It's like I said about Mr. Fantastic. Like I knew we weren't going to get that because it's not. It's not.
I knew we weren't going to get that post episode like 7, where it's too little, too late.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't introduce these characters this late in the series and have it have impact. But if in the end of this episode, Doctor Strange rolled in and was like, "Yo, I'm taking you back to my magic headquarters and training you up, and I'm going to show you where you were wrong and let you know like the actual extent of your powers," I'd be cool with that. And we got that kind of in the credits of where she's doing that existential magic reading book thing that Doctor Strange did while he was sleeping in the movie. But again, she's reading an evil book, and I'm like, I don't know if they're trying to make her a hero or a villain.
Well, one of my friends made a good point, and that was that, when Thor and Loki show up on Earth in Ragnarok, Doctor Strange is aware of it and on it immediately, like right away.
Yep.
So it's like, it seems weird that like there's this whole thing going on and hasn't even shown up yet. You know what I mean?
And I think that will be the beginning of the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. Yeah. I feel like it's going to there's good purpose as to why she's going to reach out to him or vice versa. Like the way I could see it is I could see her going to him to ask for help on like how to control and understand her powers, right?
But that's such a mutant thing, right? Like that's such a thing that
totally.
People will go to Xavier school to learn their powers, learn the extent of their powers, and I think that's such a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Is like
if there's
they could have totally set this up as a multiverse mutant gene whole storyline at the end here of like we are setting this up to exactly go into Doctor Strange, but we're also setting this up to she's brought on mutants, and with Photon coming through the Hex barrier and getting her powers, I'm like, this is the perfect thing to say. Like, this has caused a mutant gene because
a kickstart.
Yeah, exactly. Like because Wanda did this Hex thing and used her powers in this way, it has caused a mutation within the human gene of all these people, and it's just a missed opportunity in my opinion.
But the thing is this could be a cliffhanger for that. Like the thing is like I feel like there's probably still a pretty good chance that Wanda's going to create mutants, right? So she may be doing it with with more like with intent in mind. Like once she gets her experience level up a bit, you know what I mean? Like she may do it. She may do it as a, in a villainous way, even where she's like, all right, well, I'm going to give Earth there's humans competition kind of thing, right? Like you might see something like that, or I don't know, but I mean, I think the thing I like about the way it ends is like they do leave a lot of room to explore, but
but when, where?
Anywhere that it could pick up anywhere down the road. But what I'm saying is like, they did leave a lot of that, but I feel like at the same time, they could have swapped out a lot of the safe stuff for like something more exciting that would, it might make a little bit more of a splash, but it's like it's overall like a better thing for the world building aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like they could have used this series to introduce a lot more of what we might be seeing in the future.
I like the world building aspect, but for something that they said we weren't getting season 2 of, I'm like, I don't know how you don't do a season 2 of the show now.
Yeah, because they really left a lot open, right?
Like, to me, the show needs a season 2 just to end the storylines of the show, and maybe Vision isn't a huge part of it, and they need to like adapt the name a little bit. But
Wanda.
Yeah. Like what happens with Agnes? At some point, obviously, she's going to break out of this hex.
Yeah.
Like they're setting it up for that. And somebody that loses their powers and stole their power. Like it's just, there's a redemption arc or like an evil arc set up within the show for Agatha, and they didn't touch on that. Like, her giving up her kids, I'm like, well, these kids are part of the comic canon. So, and then at the end credit stinger, you can hear them screaming through the book or whatever. And I'm like, okay, what are they trying to set up here? Like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we're going to end up seeing, that's going to be the introduction to, because, yeah, they're going to definitely play a part in the MCU moving forward. For sure they're going to.
Right, but I like I said, like, I love that the MCU has these cliffhanger moments that attach to the next project, and that project attaches to the next project, and maybe it's 10 projects from now where they take this little segment from here and they bring it over here, and that's great. But for a show that is the first thing in Phase 4 and the first thing we've gotten in a year, it felt like it didn't do enough to move the plot forward, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it really sets up. Like, it doesn't set up Black Widow. It doesn't set up Falcon and Winter Soldier. And we're not getting the Doctor Strange movie till February next year, if that lasts. If we're not still under quarantine, still, you know, like...
I feel like we'll probably see Wanda again somehow, maybe even in Spider-Man. Like,
I think she could have a segment in Spider-Man, but I also think, like I said last week, how much stuff are you going to put in the Spider-Man movie? Like, it's a 2-hour, maybe 2.5-hour movie. You can't introduce 700 different things in this movie, or it's going to have the same problem that Spider-Man 3 had. Like, it needs to have a direction, and it needs to have a plot that's actually doable in 2 hours. And you can have all these, like, multiverse things throughout it, but unless something else sets it up and gets the plot moving and that movie starts with a bang, you can't do that all in 2 hours. And that's what Spider-Man 3's biggest fault was, is like, you can't introduce Venom in the same movie as Sandman and all these other characters and move the plot forward.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I'm not ready to count Spider-Man out yet. Like, we haven't even seen anything yet, right? And I mean, if anybody has proven that they can handle 40 characters at a time, it's Marvel. So, like, I'm not at the point where I'm worried about it. And like I said last week, is like, I don't think we're gonna get like these huge stories for 50 characters. I think we might see 8 of them in a scene at once, all getting their ass kicked by 3 Spider-Mans. I don't know, but I don't think it's gonna be as in depth as that. Like, I just don't.
I agree with you, but I just don't want them to go down the route of this is problematic because we have 600 characters and no character development. And yes, they've proven that they can handle it, but they've also proven that...
Is your dog, like, jumping or something?
Yeah, he's being an asshole.
I just see your eyes look over.
He wants attention, and he hates when I'm talking, and he can't see who I am talking to.
Oh, a little fit.
I don't know. I liked it. Like I said, I think WandaVision was a great series. I don't know where it fits exactly in my timeline. Like,
I need to watch it again.
I think it's middle of the pack. It had emotional moments that made me cry and made me emotional because I love Wanda and I love Vision. And maybe I didn't like them or love them as much as I did until this series, but like, it made me have an emotional attachment to these characters.
Yeah, same here.
And that's a positive, regardless of how I feel about the series. Like, making you love these characters is great, and I want to know more about Wanda, and I loved her costume at the end there. Like, I thought it was awesome.
Oh man, it was so good.
Like, as soon as I seen that, I was like, Matt's gonna make a dope custom of this.
I'm not. Only because I know they'll make one like right after, so there's no point.
Sure.
But
yours would be better.
No,
but yeah.
But I actually really liked I thought White Vision in action looked pretty fucking sick too. Like, I wasn't really that impressed with him after like last week's episode where they kind of revealed him. But like, actually seeing him in action and stuff, I thought he looked really cool. Like, I liked the differences in the face, and I liked the blue. Yeah. Like, it was just like, it looked really cool. He looked like if Vision was an iPhone.
Yeah. He looked like the Apple Vision.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, I liked him too. I just wish they would have had a character moment for him at the end. Like, they had this big revelation of that, like, he was being manipulated and he didn't understand what it was to be human or what, all that stuff. And Vision kind of gave him his memories back of, like, this is what his life was. And then they kind of just left it. And I'm like, it felt like...
What made even less sense there was the fact that he just got all that information back and then he saw Wanda in danger and he just leaves her.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I understand to a certain aspect that, like, if you had memory loss and then all of a sudden you got all your memory back, you would want a moment to, like, reflect and be like, okay, I don't know what's happening. This has been, like, a mind fuck of a situation. I'm going to peace out and let me, like, recoup my thoughts, and then I'm going to bounce back and figure out where I need to be. But, like, it felt like we were missing, like, a 5-minute segment of, like, his revelation or, like, him helping Wanda or, like, him coming back after she killed her, heart vision of, like, I'm back and I'm alive and I'm here for you and, like, I was never really gone or, like, I don't know, something. Like, it just felt like it was missing a scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely felt like that was an abrupt exit. It was just like, I see. And then he's out of here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and again, like as I said earlier, right? Like, lots of missed opportunities. Because, like, the thing is like, it's like, I feel like everybody after seeing it's like you said, is that, like, it really did a lot of development for Vision as a character. So it's like, at the end, if there's one thing we all want to see, is we all want to see him survive. So it's like, you could still have him die and have that emotional moment and then catch up with them a minute later and White Vision's there and to find out that it's like, that's the way it is. But the thing is because in the series, that's what I would expect. But, like, knowing that he's out there now and now that the series is over, we know that it's going to happen. So it's like, why didn't it just happen in the show? You know what I mean? Like,
right. But I disagree with you in that fact. But, like, to me, having the emotional impact and then immediately taking it away and saying, well, you cried over Vision dying, but now here's new Vision. It takes away something from the show. And, like, to me, it's the same as, like, when spoilers for Endgame. If you haven't seen Endgame, I don't know why you're here. But when Iron Man died, like, I bawled my eyes out. Like, I had this huge attachment to Iron Man. And if in Spider-Man 2, if all of a sudden Iron Man was back and they're like, well, he didn't really die, here he is, I would have been like, well, that takes away so much from the movie Endgame. Like, that immediately takes away all my emotional attachment to that project. And, like,
yeah, that's true.
To me, saying Vision dies, but 30 seconds later being like, well, he's not really dead, he's here. Everything Wanda learned from taking away her family and giving up her family to do the better thing of, like, I need to move on with my life and I can't live in this grief. It takes away that emotional moment right away. And I think it's unnecessary. I honestly think that Vision should have killed White Vision and then she had to give up Vision. She had to move on with her life.
Yeah, but I feel like, that's not what, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. They could go that route, but.
Where does Vision fit in this world now? Like, with Iron Man gone, Captain America gone, like, there's not really a role for Vision without Wanda, and I don't know what movie he fits in the future where I'm like, yes, this makes sense for Vision to return. Like, there's not really that role.
Well, I mean, I guess it'd be good to have somebody who knows the computer side now that they don't have Tony. So, I mean, there's always that. I guess he could fit into that role, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he could be like the smart, whatever office guy that takes care of things. But
Secretary Vision. And then
exactly.
Come back to that scene in the sitcom where he's like going through all the computer stuff.
Yeah, but they also show him like unstoppable. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, he's so powerful that I'm like, how is he not the main character of the next Avengers movie? Like, he's so strong. Like, him and Captain Marvel could own the entire universe. Like, I don't know. And same with Wanda at this point. Like,
Yeah.
After
100%.
absorbing all of Agnes's powers and everything like that, I'm like, she's so overpowered that, like, what can she not take on at this point?
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing I think is exciting because like I said, I feel like she's gonna play a part in Mutant showing up eventually, and like,
I hope so.
Yeah, I do think so. So it would make sense because she has the power to do it, obviously. So
yeah, and I really do think that should be the end of Doctor Strange too. Is, you know, they open a multiverse portal that releases the mutant gene, and you know, Doctor Strange thinks he's doing the right thing, but it ends up backfiring on him, and boom, you know, the mutant gene's everywhere. It's covering our Earth, and there's mutants everywhere, and then we have to pick up the pieces from there. And I think that's exciting, but
that would be fun.
I just didn't really think that this moved the plot to that point. Like, if that cliffhanger would have been Doctor Strange rolling up on her in that cabin in the, you know, wilderness or whatever, and said, like, you know, you're doing this all wrong, let me show you the way, kind of thing. Like, I think that really sets up the movie, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a weird thing right now at the MCU because there's so much new coming, and there's so much of the stuff that we love that's going. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah,
there's a lot of things that, like, that's, you know, I think there's a lot of uncertainty for, like, longtime viewers to think that this might start changing a bit, right?
Totally. And the one thing I'm, like, really proud of us for is, like, we predicted a lot of this stuff in episode 1, episode 2. Like, from the early get-go of this podcast, we predicted a lot of things that were going to happen, and we're pretty accurate on a lot of things.
But and I feel like, don't you feel like the stuff that happened was the stuff that seemed like it would be too predictable to happen? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this series really played out exactly like we expected it to.
I mean, I don't think we could have predicted Quicksilver, and I don't think we could have predicted certain elements of, like, you know, from episode 1, I don't think we would have predicted Darcy would have been a part of the show. I don't think we would have thought of, you know, Agatha being the villain necessarily. You know, maybe some people did. I didn't see that necessarily from the first episode.
The Darcy thing, I knew because I saw the casting thing. So, like, some stuff I knew because I saw, like...
Right.
Like,
I look at it more as just story beats. I think were the natural story beats that they had to do. As a Disney show, they couldn't go too dark with it. They couldn't go too crazy with it. They had to keep it within the Marvel universe that they've set up so far.
Yeah.
I liked it. I'm not going to say I didn't like it. I think it's somewhere in the middle for me.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the best thing that they've done. I don't think it's the worst thing they've done. And that's fine.
It's a good intro back into the MCU.
Yeah. After this many movies and this far along, I'm completely content with where it is and where it finished, and I liked it. I don't want to sound overly negative on it because I'm not. I enjoyed it, and I loved the entire journey of it. I'm excited for Falcon 2 weeks from now, but I do think that they should do a WandaVision season 2, and it might be different, and it might be something completely different that we don't expect it to be, but, like, I'm fine with that. Like, Wanda being on her own and studying magic and maybe, like, I don't know, wherever Doctor Strange ends, whatever position she's in, like, continuing on from there, solo story, I think it could be very interesting. So
yeah. I mean, at this point, if they put out a Scarlet Witch, like, movie, I'd be on board. Like, that would be great, right? Like,
totally, and then maybe that's where they want to go with her. Is like they're doing Black Widow now, and maybe they want to set this up for we're going to do a Scarlet Witch movie, and eventually we're going to do, you know, her carry on into an X-Men movie or whatever. Like, I'm completely content with that, but
me too.
I just hope she continues on in the Marvel universe, and obviously, I mean, we are going to get more of her, but, like, I hope she stays as a permanent character within the universe because I really like the flaws of her character, and I like where she went with the story.
Yeah, me too. Plus, I like the new look too. It's so dope.
Oh, it's great.
So cool. When I saw it, I was like, yeah.
But like, you know what? Like, with all the Iron Man suits and like the Spider-Man suits and how they've updated them and like all that stuff, like you would really think like, yeah, they're gonna nail this, and they did. Like, it's exactly the update to the character that they needed to do, and it's perfect. It fits the character still. It still looks a little bit retro, like her comic book, version of it, but it's updated for
elements.
Yeah, it's updated for 2021, and it works. Like, it's great.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely like the design. Like, I like the look for sure. So, and it's like, I feel like the MCU stuff, initially the costumes were a bit too like tactical, but I feel like they've gotten past that at this point. Like, I feel like, I just even look at like Falcon, how Falcon looks in the new thing, and I'm like, all right, he's clearly not like just some army dude now, right? Like, he's like decked out in superhero like fucking duds, right? Like,
I mean, I think there's a balance to strike there, right? Like,
yeah, totally, me too.
You don't want it
to be practical. Like, it still has to be
want it to be practical, and you don't want it to be too cheesy. Like, and that's like, I feel like the original X-Men movie missed the mark there, right? Whereas like, they didn't want to be that spandex yellow suit for the characters, but then they went like, hey, let's do like tight leather, and I'm like, wow, that doesn't work either. Like, it doesn't work for the show, and it doesn't.
Like, they're not a motorcycle game.
It doesn't seem updated. It doesn't seem cool, and like, now it's like, yeah, we're taking elements of the comic book version, but we're updating it and making it relevant to 2021, and it's like, yeah, it works.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't get worried about that aspect anymore like I used to. I used to be like, oh, great, are we going to get fucking, like, some important character? And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, man, I'm in a leather jacket.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, cool, that's great. But, like, we need something better than that.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I mean, I'm very excited to see what they end up doing with X-Men, updated costumes and, like, everything like that. When X-Men becomes a part of the Marvel universe, like, to see what their version of, Wolverine or whatever will look like, Cyclops, whatever, like, to see like a Tony Stark, super electronic version of like Cyclops' visor will look like it could be a really cool segment of like,
oh, totally.
Yeah. We're updating X-Men for 2022, 2023, 2024, whatever the case may be. And like, this is what this character would be in 2025, not, 1965.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, at this point, the costumes, I really don't worry about them too much anymore. Like, I'm pretty happy with like where the MCU's at in terms of costumes. Right. And again, like tonight's, the showing of Scarlet Witch's costume is like that again. It's right there, right? Like, so it's like like I just I don't know. I like that look, and like I think it strikes a good balance between like grounded and like comic book inspired, right? Like even like her look there does kind of resemble like a couple of her like more modern looks. So
yeah, dude, I totally agree with you.
Yeah,
I'm very excited to see like people like you who are very creative and can make characters. Like, I'm very excited to see the next phase of like your customs for the next phase of Marvel. Like, you know what? Like, we don't have Eternal figures. We don't have Shang-Chi figures. Like, all these next characters are going to bring in a new whole revolution of like custom looked characters, new costumes, new figures, new everything. And it's like, yeah, it's going to be really cool to see like what you come up with compared to what Marvel comes up with, Yeah.
I always look forward to seeing that. I definitely have stepped away from making the movie figures, but the biggest reason why is because Hasbro has gotten so good at it. So it's like, I find it really difficult to kind of compete.
Sure.
But like, there are some people who, and like, again, for me, like, it takes me a while to put out figures. Like, when I'm doing movie figures, especially, they take a long time, lots of attention to detail. But like,
yeah, of course.
But there's so many people out there that do them. So it's like, it's just like you said, like, I can imagine by this time next week, I'll have seen like 7 or 8 Scarlet Witch customs already. Like, I can imagine, like,
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say, like, you know, whether we'll get, maybe they've already announced this and I've missed it, like Marvel custom, you know, Vision figures or Wanda figures.
Vision got revealed last week, right? The day after. Okay. Yeah, so like they showed him off, or maybe it was Monday. Anyway, they showed him in the last week. So
that's cool.
So yeah, so White Vision got shown, and I can imagine we'll get Wanda. Like there's a rumored Disney Plus wave coming out of like the entire wave of figures. It's supposed to be Viz, Scarlet Witch, Bucky, Falcon, Loki, Baron Zemo, and oh no, sorry, not Baron. Yeah, is it Zemo? Yeah, it is Zemo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one other one, I think. So.
Yeah, no, I'm down with that. Like your interest in figures and everything like that, like it makes me interested in like starting a small collection of like, hey, like these are some of the coolest figures. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you showed off that Rocksteady and Bebop, or no, Token Racing, right? Of those the original Ninja Turtles movie, like, yeah, I was like, man, like I would buy those.
Yeah, they're
just
dope.
to put them on my shelf, like. Yeah, stuff that looks that cool, I'm like, I'd be in on buying those. Like, I'm fine with buying those. And if they make those kind of, like, exact replica versions of some of these characters, like, I'm in. Like, I'll buy them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're it's definitely a fun hobby, but it's so easy to get. It's funny, one of my friends, he was actually on here, I don't know if he still is, probably not, Astonishing NR. He's my buddy there that started the YouTube channel around the same time you and I started talking. And just this week, he added 2 of like our local friends to the podcast. So he does like reviews, and he has a bunch of other stuff coming, but he also does a podcast once a week. And they've been like, okay, they've been like, more informational than anything else. Right. So last week he added like our buddy D to it. And I was like, oh, this is good. Like there's already like good back and forth between them. They've already have chemistry because we're all friends. And then this week they added Chris to it as well. So now there's 3 of them. And I actually messaged him. I'm like, dude, this is like way fucking better. Like it's just good to see like that back and forth. Right. And it's just like, it's so cool to see.
It's hard to build that chemistry, right? Like
totally.
You have to have that common interest in relationship where you know each other's stops and finishes of when they want to, change topics or when they're ready to end their sentence and like
sentences. Yeah, see?
To build that dynamic, especially not in person, but over like a video call is like, it's very difficult to learn. And like, I'm not trying to toot our horns here or anything, but like, I feel like every episode we get a little better with that too. And like,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Just
so
to find your like zone, right?
Yeah. It's a rhythm, and it's, I don't know. It's hard to find, but I'm glad that, that's great. I mean, I think anybody should make a podcast. I think it's fun to do.
It is fun. It's good to have a good chat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My dog's being a jerk.
That's okay. If you start collecting, that would be hilarious.
I mean, I'd like to, but it's just amount of having the room, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm never going to be on the level you are where I'd commit that amount of space to it. I just don't have the space. And I mean, I know you don't have the space either, but
I don't. But
I'm into gaming. I'm into movies. I'm into purchasing movies. Like, I'm into collecting vinyl. Like, I'm already into 3 different.
You already have collections.
Like I have enough collections of where I don't need more, but I would like a small, a nice shelf of like really cool figures or something like that. And obviously it's easy to get carried away with it, but if they made like some really dope a few figures, I'd be in. Like, especially video games. If they made really good custom video game figures.
Oh, what's that one you told me to make that one time?
Last of Us.
No, I think they're making those too, but there was something else. It was like a girl and she has like a giant robot.
Oh, BioShock.
Yeah. So they ended up making some of those.
Yeah, like the Big Daddy and Little Sister, I would buy those figures. Like for a long time, that was one of the first like tattoos I really wanted was a Big Daddy and Little Sister, and I really want a Last of Us tattoo as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like a sweet Big Daddy figure, I would totally be in on.
I'm pretty sure they have one. I'll have to find
They
it.
probably do.
I'll have to remember to think about that when like I see stuff come up, like video game stuff.
Yeah, like The Last of Us is my favorite video game of all time. Like Last of Us Part 2 and The Last of Us, and
Yep.
I really would love, I mean, that's you can't see it right now, but the figure I have on my shelf up there is Ellie from The Last of Us, and like she's one of my favorite characters of all time. So if they had like these zombie-esque figures of from that game, like I'd be totally in buying those too.
I'll keep you in the loop if I see them come up.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
I think that's definitely a road you should travel down on, is in the future, like more video game-esque characters and stuff. Like I think there's a huge untapped market there.
See, for me, my kind of thing is like when I do commissions, I generally stray to the ones that catch my interest, because I find that when they're not super appealing to me as a character, I lose interest in it. It's hard to forward myself, right? Really, those are the only times I would really do those kind of characters, because like I wouldn't do it for me. Like I don't have A, the spot for them, or B, like the interest in them. You know, like, but I see a lot of those characters and I'm like, oh my God, that'd be so fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, video game players and loving of that genre would really love some of these characters to be like action figures and stuff like that. And there's just really not that market yet, it seems. Like even merch, like just buying like the deluxe version of a game to get a statue or something like that, I'm like, I usually partake in. But if they made action figures of all these characters and stuff, like I would be down that path in a heartbeat.
You'd probably be surprised at what they do have good figures for, though. Like, especially when it comes to like movies and stuff, like a lot of sci-fi and like old like sci-fi and old horror movies have all got picked up and been done really well. Like everything from like Gremlins to Aliens and Predators and
I've seen a few like Alien versus Predator figures. I've seen a few
Back to the Future is pretty hot right now. They're doing Back to the Future.
Like going to Fan Expo in Toronto every year.
Oh yeah, been exposed to
I've seen a lot of those, and like they're cool and stuff, but like there's not a lot of video game stuff. Like honestly,
no, there isn't. You're right, there isn't.
It's a lot of comic book related stuff. Yeah, there is some movie characters like Back to the Future and Friday the 13th and stuff like that, like I've seen, but it's mostly comic book based, and I think that's a huge market they're missing out on. I really do.
I feel like it's slowly picking up, but it kind of like starts with the fighting games. So there's a company called Storm Collectibles. They have like a pretty good assortment of like Mortal Kombat stuff. Yeah. And Street Fighter stuff. And then Bandai did a line of Street Fighter, which they've since dropped, those fuckers, because now I have an incomplete set of Street Fighters, but
yeah, I mean that makes sense too. Is like Mortal Kombat makes a lot of sense for
totally toys.
Action figure adaptations, like especially with the new movie coming, like I assume we're gonna get a ton of action figures based off that movie, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and so on and so forth.
McFarlane has that line too, so they'll probably put out stuff. I have a hard time believing they wouldn't. So
yeah, I definitely think we'll see that, but I don't know. I mean that Mortal Kombat trailer was like awesome, so I'm so in.
As soon as he broke his arms off, I was like, all right, I'm listening.
Yeah. I love the original Mortal Kombat movies. And
I don't, so it's...
Yeah. I mean, they're cheesy, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. They're just nostalgic for you. They're nostalgic for you.
Yeah, they're very nostalgic for me. Yeah. Like, they hit me at the right time in my life when I first seen that Mortal Kombat movie. I was, 12, 13, whatever it was. And I was like, oh man, this is, as graphic as I can handle at that age, and still like really awesome. So
that's funny.
Same as Die Hard. Like that's why I'm such a Die Hard fan. Is I seen that at a young age, and it just hit me at the right time. Where it was something that I felt like I shouldn't be seeing at the age I was, but like I loved. So
we should do that. We should do a little discussion about that one time. Movies that are like near and dear to us for whatever reason, right? Everybody kind of has those things. Like You know, like for me, it's like the movie that I remember like wearing, like I ruined the VHS of it. Like I just watched it so much was like Toy Story 1, the first one.
Yeah.
And again, just because like I've always been a toy fan, right? Like this isn't fucking new. Like this stuff behind me is not, that's not a new thing for me. I've been collecting toys since I was a little kid, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like that movie fucking really hit me hard. Like that one was just the best. Love the first one.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jurassic Park was probably the movie that like hooked me originally.
Yeah.
It's definitely my favorite movie of all time, but like
Jurassic Park, really?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I didn't know that.
You know, like that was one of the big first movies I seen in theaters where I hadn't seen a lot of movies in theaters at that point in my life. Like I think I was 8 when I seen that theater. I went with my uncles and it felt like something like I wasn't allowed to see. My parents were see, so I went and seen it with my uncles, and that was something like kind of like.
Where'd you see it?
I think it was Parkway. I think that old theater that was in like the Zehrs Plaza there.
Oh damn!
I think it was there, but I can't remember for sure. But I mean, I remember seeing it and being like, "This is like way more graphic than I thought it was going to be." Like when the dinosaur eats the dude off the toilet, I'm like, "Wow!" Like I'm 8 and I'm seeing some guy get murdered by a dinosaur. Like I shouldn't be here right now, but like it's awesome.
Yeah,
you know. And it's the same with Scream for me. Like the first time I seen Scream, it was the first rated R movie I think I've ever seen. It was either Scream or Die Hard, but I was at a friend's house and his mom was like, "Hey, call your mom and make sure you're allowed to watch this movie." And so I fake dialed on the phone and pretended I was talking to my mom to see if I could get permission. And then I hung up the phone and I was like, "Yeah, she said it was fine." And I watched Scream for the first time and like I fell in love with that movie because it just felt something like forbidden that I wasn't allowed to watch, but I loved it. That's why I love horror films so much. Is just like from a very young age, I was like, "Oh my god, like I love this. It's brutal, it's graphic, and it's something I shouldn't be seeing, and I'm seeing it." So
yeah. I liked Scream too. I only liked the first one though. The other ones I couldn't give a fuck about. That.
See. Scream 2 is fine.
You are more of a horror kind of.
I love horror. I'm such a whore.
You're such a whore. I have a friend like that.
Yeah, we all do. Scream 2 is good. Scream 3 is terrible. Scream 4 has moments that is really, really cool. The ending is terrible. But I love the beginning of Scream 4 and what they set it up to be, and then they didn't know how to end it, and it's really, really bad ending.
Yeah, that's too bad.
I'm very, very excited to see what they do with the Scream 5/Scream reboot.
Oh, they're rebooting it.
It's called Scream. It's not going to be called Scream 5. So I think it's part reboot, part sequel. I don't really know what they were going to do with it, but
fucking losers! I hate when they do shit like that. Commit. If you're gonna reboot.
Well, see, the problem is like Neve Campbell's back, Courtney Cox is back.
Not a reboot, then it's not a reboot.
It's not a reboot, but they're calling it Scream. I'm like, you already did a Scream, so I don't know what it is, you know. But I'm very excited for it because it's the same as like I don't know. I can't even think of like Jurassic World, right? When they say announced Jurassic World, they're like, it's going to be kind of a reboot, but kind of a sequel.
But it's not a reboot. Yeah, I get it.
It is, but it is.
It's like a refresh, is what it is.
Yeah, and I think that's what they're trying to do with Scream 5. But I'm very excited for it.
What are your thoughts on that? I only think of it because we're talking about old movies that did this, and then there's a movie that's currently waiting in the wings to get its reboot, and that is that Saw one, that Chris Rock one.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, I know that, but what are your thoughts on it? I know we never.
I can't wait.
Oh, okay, cool.
I've seen every Saw movie.
Yeah, I know you're
every Saw movie in theaters. I'm a huge Saw fan. I think they got progressively bad. Like, I think the first 3-4 movies are solid. I think after the 4th movie, it got way downhill. But it's the same as Friday the 13th. It's the same as Halloween. It's the same as Nightmare on Elm Street. Yep. All these classic horror films is like, if you want to put 8 or 9 movies in a series, eventually it's going to go down.
Yeah.
And you can't do the same thing 8 times and expect it to be revolutionary in some form at episode 7. You know what I mean? It's the same as Star Wars.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, I love the original Star Wars films, and I will die on that hill, but more than half of those movies are bad. So it's like, okay, out of 11 movies, I'd say 6 of them are bad.
Yeah. See, again, it's hard to say because it's not. It's very much an opinion, right? Like, to me,
sure, everything is so.
I don't say any. I mean, I shouldn't say that. That's not true. But like, I wouldn't say that it's that bad. Like, I would say there's bad ones, and I would say there's some uncompelling ones, but I would say that they're still relevant to the story. And I just
Wait, you could say that with X-Men too.
No, they're all just bad.
There's relevant story parts.
No, there's not. They don't even make sense.
They do and they don't. Some of them make sense, and that's what I mean. It's like there's character moments that make sense in those movies, right? And there is 8, 9, 10, whatever the hell it is, movies of X-Men. And some of them have moments where I love, and some of them have moments that I detest. And some movies are terrible, and some movies are great. And that's the same as Friday the 13th, where there's, I love Friday the 13th, part 4. Part 8 is, Jason Goes to Manhattan is abysmally bad. Like, one of the worst movies ever made. Jason X, I fucking love because it's absurd and it's brutal and it's not a good movie, but it's fun.
Yeah. For what you're looking for in it, right? Like,
right. And that's what I mean is like any movie that goes on that long, there's going to be moments where it's really bad and there's bad segments of it. And I mean, I think that's part of the reason why me and you love Marvel so much is they're kind of hitting it out of the park.
Yeah.
Like, there's no franchise that long and that successful that we've ever experienced.
It's weird to see a franchise that everyone's expecting to lose its steam, not lose its steam.
I remember I listened to a few video game podcasts, and I remember hosts on those podcasts like 7-8 years ago being like, this Marvel fad is going to end.
Yep.
People are going to get tired of these comic book adaptations. People are going to stop seeing these films. Nobody's going to be watching Avengers 7 in theaters in 5 years. And it's like, no, they're bigger and better than ever.
Yep.
People are going to see them at unprecedented levels. Endgame is the highest grossing movie of all time. Like, it's not going to stop.
Well, all I said when I hear people say that is like, my mom knows who Thanos is. My 65-year-old mother knows who Thanos is. Like,
but that's video games too, right? It's like when we were growing up, every video game system was a Nintendo to our parents.
Yeah.
And every video game was Mario to our parents, pretty much. And it was like, oh, you're playing that Mario game again, whatever. And now it's become such a huge thing where there's so many genres within it. And, there's Xbox, there's PlayStation, there's Nintendo as a big 3, but nobody goes and plays PlayStation. And my mom knows what a PlayStation is. Like, it's become that thing of like, yeah, there's bigger and better things within this genre, in this system. And it's the same as any of that, right? It's like, our parents have seen X-Men movies. Our parents have seen the last Avengers movie or what have you. And this is bigger than just the nerd culture going to see these movies. These have become mainstream films.
Oh, and just the fact that they're just genuinely good movies too, right? Like, you can put the superhero aspect aside. Like, it's like it's like any like type of series style movie where you're getting multiples as you start to get attached to these characters. And like, they do such a good job at writing them as such like relatable human beings. Like, it's that you can look past the fact that Captain America can lift a car and.
Right, but that's the beauty of it, right? Is anybody can relate to these characters. Now, whatever background you've come from, whatever, life events have happened to you, whether you're, whatever color you are, whatever sex you are, whatever race you are, there's something within this universe that you can relate to. And And it might not be Iron Man, but it might be Black Panther, and it might not be Black Panther, but it might be Captain Marvel. And like, that's the cool part of it, is there's something in this for everybody. And that's why they're finding the success they have, is because something within this world and universe, you're going to find that relates to you, and it's not going to stop. As long as you keep expanding these characters, you're going to find more and more love of these characters.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I'm excited to see where we go next.
Same, man. I cannot wait for Captain Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah, man.
I'm excited to see I'm excited to see what they do with that one. Especially because like it's like with Wanda, I never really cared that much. Like she was just whatever. She was just a background character kind of, right? And Vision, same. It was fine. Like he was fine or whatever, right? But like, but Falcon is one of those like secondary characters that I actually like. I started to love in Winter Soldier, and like it only got bigger as we moved along. Like in Civil War, I just like fell in love with the character. Like I think I love Sam Mackie as Sam Wilson. He's so fucking good.
I agree.
And I like that. I don't love Bucky as a character. I don't. But again, we haven't really spent too much time with him. Like we know his deal, but
I'm very excited to see what they do with these characters. And I look at it like this: if at the start of WandaVision, we didn't really love Wanda or Vision to the extent we do now.
Yes,
that might be the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier for us, is where we love these characters and we have that emotional attachment to these characters. And I'm very excited to see what they do with them.
That's the best thing about these Disney shows, is like instead of giving them a couple minutes in a movie, you get 30 minutes.
8 hours.
Yeah. That's kind of nice, right? Do we know the episode count for?
I think it's 6.
6, yeah.
I think it's shorter, but I think the episodes are an hour long.
I heard the episodes were longer. Yeah. So that's good.
So we're going to run out of time in 3 minutes. So I just want to say too, next week, we still are going to have an episode, even though we're not going to, be able to talk about WandaVision or anything. We're going to do our top 5 comic adaptation movies. Anything. It doesn't have to be MCU. We're going to do our top 5, comic movies. So Matt's probably going to focus a lot on MCU, but
it's going to be hard not to. They're really good movies.
They're very good. I'm probably not going to focus as much on MCU. I'm probably going to be kind of scattered, but I wanted to extend it to all comic book movies just because that way we had different lists.
Yeah,
and we weren't very similar.
Because we're pretty similar on the MCU side with the stuff that we like.
We've been friends for a long time and we have similar thoughts. So I wanted to extend it to everything. So that's going to be next week's episode, is our top 5 comic book movies. And then the following week, we'll obviously do Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 1. So,
spoiler alert, Ryan's favorite is X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Spoiler alert, you're correct. No, that is incorrect. But that will be next week's episode. So next Friday, that's what we'll be doing. Please join us if you enjoyed this. Follow us. Follow Matt at Customs by Matthew. Come over to my YouTube channel. The link's in my profile. Follow me there if you can. I'd appreciate it. Leave comments, leave likes, leave love, whatever. We can answer it next episode. We can comments, whatever. We appreciate it. And thanks for tuning in.
This has been WandaVision Recap. This has
WandaVision Recap.
Ryan.
Brought to you by Bubbleman. Go.
Ryan Matt Vision Recap.
Let's make that sitcom.
We'd make a great sitcom.
Oh, dude.
My hair would look awesome.
Back down to Windsor. We'll move in together and we'll do a Ryan Matt Vision. It'll just be us, 755 pounds, eating pizza, smoking pot, and having dogs on our laps.
That sounds like a good idea. We'd probably fight over who gets the space because I'd need more room for action figures.
You can have all the room you want, baby. I'm good to go. I'm easy going. I don't care. As long as I can sit on a couch, you can have all the room you want.
I'm going to pimp something really quickly before we go. So tomorrow night, I'm going to do a live thing on my Instagram with Stranded Customs, and we're going to switch our secret figure swap list. That's not going to be a secret. So we're going to give it to each other verbally, and then that's it.
Right.
On my
So
Instagram tomorrow.
definitely
I don't know when. I'll post about it.
post tomorrow when that goes live, and I'll tune in.
Zang.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Cheers.